welcome to HOMO-BITES. I'm Simar. Today's topic, religion and homosexuality. This is in response to a YouTube video about homosexuality. The blogger, whose link is below, if you want to check it out, his video quoted a Bible scripture and it kind of got me all fired up, so I figured I would make a video and respond, in addition to making a weekly show of this. So in his video he quoted a scripture from Leviticus 18:22, and that says, "And with man you shall not lie, as a man lies with woman. It is an abomination." Some scholars argue that the prohibition was an attempt to prevent men from using sexual intercourse to gain domination over another man, and, which was common in other cultures, for example the Greek, as an example. These verses in no way prohibit, nor do they even speak about, a loving, caring, mature, consensual sexual relationship between two people. It has nothing to do with it. Especially, including if they're the same gender. So, but it just kind of skirts around the issue. It's not specific enough. One argument amongst theologians is that using Leviticus to condemn homosexuals requires strict following of all of its laws, not just one. In other words, how can you condemn me when you don't follow all the rules yourself? It's pretty simple. Leviticus 19:27, which condemns the cutting of the hair on the side of the head, or the trimming of your beard. How about Leviticus 11:7, which condemns contact with the flesh of a dead pig or pigskin. Leviticus 11:10, which labels eating shellfish an abomination. So shrimp, lobster, oysters, any of that stuff is an abomination. It's not suitable for us. It's not suitable as a foundation for such significant moral judgment for contemporary Christians, as it is impossible for those Christians to follow all the rules themselves. Those rules are so strict that I don't know one Christian who follows every single law of the Old Testament. It's impossible. So how can you pick one law out and try to, all this God hates fags and all of these issues, the political issues, how can you pick one law out of an entire book when you yourself don't follow all of them yourself? It's like when you point your finger, three point back at you. In other words, it's wrong to pick and choose, making it convenient to yourself from your own point of view, and you argue that fact. In other words, just because I'm gay doesn't mean that others are justified in eating shellfish or pork or trimming their beard also. But to mention Jewish law versus what they call purity laws, there were laws that were written in the Old Testament to control. Basically arguments, those arguments also include that these chapters were concerned with purity codes, to keep Israel separate from the Canaanites. But Jesus rejected the entire purity code, as they are no longer relevant according to what he said in the New Testament, where he said he came to make a new law. And he referred to the hearts of men as being the subject of where we need to be chaste. If, for example, if you lust in your heart, it's a sin. If you have sex outside of marriage, a committed relationship, it's a sin, like adultery. Okay, but if you love purely in your heart, in a mature, committed relationship, I believe that if it's pure and right, that God will truly bless it, just as he did with David and Jonathan. The book of Samuel, David and Jonathan, okay. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. He took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow and his belt. 2 Samuel 1:26. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me, but your love for me was more wonderful than that of the love of a woman. Scholars have argued that it was a sexual relationship, while acknowledging in the text actions like Jonathan taking off his clothes in front of his friend is highly unusual at that point in time. It's outside the norm, and let alone kissing him. Why would you kiss another man when you're naked? Interesting concept. And if modern readers and people of this day don't understand or see the sexual relationship in that story, it's because they choose not to see it, simply put.